This is the Zone Football League.
Welcome to the first episode of Zone In Podcast, where we talk everything Zone Football League. My name's Mason Villa, and today I'm joined by Chris Turner, CT. How are you?
Yeah, going all right. How are you going?
Good, thank you. Good. Apologies from Gary Wilson. He couldn't make it today, but further episodes coming throughout the season. He should be here joining us. Did you say poor excuse from Wilson?
Oh, well, if you're calling football poor excuses, he's been out there coaching tonight. So, yeah, no, that's actually a good excuse.
Yeah, fair enough. In the world of football, of course. Yeah. So today we're just going to be talking about the results of round one, so the highs and the lows, looking at round two coming up across all three grades, all clubs, and yeah, we'll jump straight in with the big one. Obviously, a lot of people have been speaking about it over the weekend. I'm still getting messages today about how crazy the season opener was. Croatia versus the Suns at number 2 Sports Ground last Friday night. You were there yourself. I was there. I'm actually getting goosebumps just talking about it again, because being at that game, the quality that was shown, the crowd as well for a Zone Football League game, season opener, the first time we've done it. What was your thoughts straight off the bat about it?
Look, let's start from the beginning. From walking at the gate, the car park was full when I turned up.
Yeah.
Which is always a good sign. And then with the, just from Bar TV's point of view, what a great job they did in setting everything up. So
Amazing.
The interviews were all organised before the game with both the coaches. And then pre-game, we had the opportunity to get into the sheds and talk to the players, as in, like, you know, pre-warn them that we wanted to come in with a camera at the end of the game. Hopefully you'll see that. That'll be a lot of fun. But then get to the game itself, and what a cracking game it was. I think the highlight for me was a couple of things. The crowd gives this energy to the place, which I haven't seen in local football at a regular match over 20, 25 years. Like, it's been that long since a regular game, week game. And I know it was round one, and I know what it was, but it was sensational. The game itself, here's how it looked if you missed it. A lot of the games that we watch these days in the modern era are really held together, lots of build up to the halfway, and then typically you get into that middle third and you take some risk at the top and it's a turnover, and depending how the other team are going, whether it's a counter-attack or not, but usually that's the pattern. This thing was end-to-end football. In other words, high-level skill levels of the guys up playing up front, the triangles that were happening, the way that
threats from both sides as well.
Absolutely. It was
ridiculous.
Just, the two strike forces of the teams were a highlight for me.
Yeah.
And the control through the middle of the park. You just couldn't pick who was going to win. Even at 4-2 towards the end of the game, you still thought the Suns were in it. And that's after an amazing 4-2 victory from Newcastle, Croatia. Look, it had it all, and I really enjoyed. There weren't any stale moments, I'm going to call it that, or boring moments. It was actually end-to-end.
It was 90 minutes of edge of your seat kind of stuff.
Yeah, loved it. Every part of that night worked. I want to do it again and again. And as we change through each of the three grades, want to reproduce that energy. So if it's your clubs and your turn, get your people out there, get the kids out there, because we absolutely loved it.
It was amazing. And as you say as well, throughout the year, there will be match of the rounds picked going throughout all three grades. But yeah, obviously round one was this game. You said about the crowd and the atmosphere as well. We don't have exact numbers, but at a quick calculation, we reckon there was about almost 2,000 people there, which is crazy for a zone league game. People refer to it as grassroots football, which it is, of course, and we lean on that. But considering there were 2 NPL games on,
Yeah.
and reports in unofficially, there's probably 30 people at either of those games, and we had almost 2,000. So
Yeah, look, I didn't sit there and count them, but it looked somewhere just inside 2,000 to my eye. And just the atmosphere was probably even more so because it was electric.
Yeah.
Croatians against the Macedonians, and that was just fantastic.
It didn't take too long for the sparks to fly in the crowd, at least, and especially on the field as well. But yeah, we're Bar TV was sitting dead center of both the supporters, just going at each other, weren't they? But passionate about football. That was the main thing at the end of the day.
And look, the quality. And, if I picked on the front line before, you talk about the Palozzi brothers there, Aidan and Alex. And then, at the other end, you've got, I was going to say Peter McGuinness, Jake McGuinness there, who I thought was sensational, Jamie Burns and McDonald. Liam was on fire. So at each end of the park, it was just quality. And that's without talking about the Jacob Peppers of the world. Oh, and so many others, Zach Hill, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Those two team sheets, when you got it across your desk and you looked at them, you surely had to double take and think, is this zone football or
without a doubt. And these clubs here clearly, the benchmark.
Yeah.
And it was what it was. And if you miss that one, don't miss it in round 2 because it'll be a ripper.
The reverse fixture for sure. The Suns are going to put on just as big of a spectacle for that as well. But to touch on the scoreline then as well, 4-2, 6-goal thriller in an opening match in a Zone 1 game, probably more than what anyone could have asked for.
Yeah. And look, it just goes to show the strength in the middle of the park, what was going on at the back as well. These guys were put under a huge amount of pressure, and I forget exactly what Gareth Wassick said. It was something like there were more gaps in the defence than teeth at Market Town or something like that, one of his classic one-liners. But, gee, it was good. But the gaps were there because the opposing strikers were forcing them to be there, and the speed and the pace that it was all done at, the triangles that were there, the Plotzis in particular, Aidan and Alex just sitting in little pockets all of the time, getting 1-2s in.
I remember
and the speed of McDonald was just
and I remember you saying in the commentary on Friday night that Suns lined up in a 4-4-2 with the Plozzi brothers up the top, but they'll never play flat.
No, never. It's not
there's
their
a 9
way.
and a 10, and you don't know which one's doing which.
Yeah, and it's backyard football then as they're growing up.
Yeah.
And by the way, I used to play backyard football with their dad, Alex, when we were kids, and he was incredibly skillful himself and better than the boys.
Yeah.
So he's got to say that as a dad. But, it was just it was a great spectacle and really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And for 6 goals as well, you'd think, okay, there must have been some scrappiness in there, or maybe only 2 of them were good to watch. All 6 of those goals were class goals.
Well, let's consider this. There was one that was considered in, and the other one was considered, a penalty. So, and merits
that's
for
not
both.
even out in the 6.
No, and that's not even in the 6. So, if you missed any of that, like I said before, get to round 2 because that'll be an absolute belter.
Yeah, and also credit to Croatia being promoted from last year into Zone 1 this year. You would have thought there'd be a fair bit more pressure on them coming into this opening game, but they obviously felt confident in themselves and really showed what they're about, which is a good mark out for start of a season like this.
And why wouldn't they? You look at the lineup, as you said.
Yeah.
And, of course, they're going to go out in confidence because all these guys have played high-level football.
Yeah.
And they know how it's done. And I've still got to chase up who Bibby is because he can play and he was dangerous as well. I'd never seen him before.
Yeah.
I don't think the other boys had either.
So then after the game as well, you had the pleasure of going into the winning team shed. How was that on your side? Because I've seen the footage. It seemed quite hectic down there.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I was a bit mixed emotions because we've lost our son 7 weeks ago. So I've found it hard to smile at too much, to be honest. But when I got in there, I just felt the energy and you'll hear it in my voice. And I thought to myself, it's okay to be happy. It's okay to smile. And smile I did because if you could see it, you could feel it. And it was just so pumped up. I think we actually finished and then went back for another interview at the end or whatever because you couldn't let it go. There was too much going on. And what a great night it was. Then on the way out, it still hadn't finished because I'd made some.
Did not stop.
No, and it was on in the car park. People were, still excited and pumped and all that sort of stuff. And I met some new friends. Have a look at them now. And these guys, apologies for not remembering all your names, guys, but, we had a great chat out the front and they were loving it. So, and they want to be on the podcast as well. So, who knows, we might get you boys in there at some point.
Send us the photos here. Send us a DM, a message, whatever, if you're in the photo. And we might try organise something with catch up with your new friends.
Yeah, well, my daughter's boyfriend actually knows them, so I know who you are. I can
there
track
we
you
go.
down, boys.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously great showing. Great standpoint for start of a new season, the new era of zone football. But then across the rest of the weekend, some other results as well. Zone 1. Some mixed results. I guess besides the main game, the other talking point would be Mayfield versus Azuri.
Yeah, so it showed us 10-1.
there?
It showed 10-1 on the scoreboard. Well, I haven't seen 1 minute of the game, so I'll be honest. By a reliable source said it was actually 11. But before I touch on that, I want to give Chris Brain a rap and you guys at Zone League Football because the production that was put on and then supported by Bar TV, it was one of the best. I mean, I've been doing football for, a long time. Let's call it over 50 years. And I've never actually seen an event like this one just off the cuff. So everything moving in the right direction for this league. And if you're a part of it, be excited to be a part of it because it's all happening. And as Garth calls it, the People's League, and couldn't agree more. Just back to Mayfield and Azuri, like a lopsided affair. There's no doubt about that. There's a couple of key figures in there that suggested culture change maybe, and they really did do a lot of social media around their own club a couple of years ago. And I know I got caught up in the hype of it a few years ago and loved every second. I went to a few games of theirs. It was great fun. And you see that the Bailey boys were still there last year, but I think the year before the Sneesbys sort of went out. You get the feeling that there might have been a change in the way things are going at the moment, but whatever it is, they'd like to think that they could pick it up and put that one behind them for sure. Because next week, they don't want to have a repeat.
Well, of
Otherwise,
course,
it'll be a long year. So who
guess
knows what else is going on? They could add some players out. I'm not sure. I haven't seen a minute of it, but wish them all the best and hope that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, Mayfield, I've heard a few things around that they've picked up a few decent players this year, building a good squad. So you got to give credit still to the winning team. They're obviously doing something right if they can bag 11 result for round 1. But as you say, move on to round 2. You can't
and just on the Mayfield boys, on the season launch, they were there, and I had a quick chat, and they were pretty, very, calm about it, but very optimistic about their season this year. So it'll be interesting to keep your eye on Mayfield as well.
For sure. Another interesting result would be in Zone 1, Hamilton Olympic being beaten by Swansea as well. Probably wouldn't have seen that coming, me personally. I don't know about you.
I didn't either. I mean, Swansea must have a cracking side because I saw Newcastle Olympic play literally 3 weeks ago or less, and they have a very good side. So I don't know what happened on that game, but it is going to be fun to watch, all of this unfold because there'll be dramas every week, players out, players in. But Swansea, I can't wait to get a look at them. And when you guys are playing and it's your hosting time, can't wait to turn up and see that and maybe get a sneaky watch on some Sunday afternoon at some point because they look like they're, they've got to have a good side to have beaten,
of course,
beaten Newcastle Olympic like that.
Yeah. And then another shock result as well. It would be Uni against Cardiff. Uni winning 5-2. Another huge score line as well. Goals are flowing and plenty. But Uni obviously built a good roster coming into this year, and I know through comments on the football forum as well, which will take bits and pieces from, but maybe with a grain of salt. Cardiff have recruited a fair few players, and they came into this season quite confident. So to go down 5-2 in the first round against Uni would be a big maybe shock for them.
Yeah, well, the notables for me, my good mate Pekka out at Cardiff, he'll attest to this. But at the moment, you've got an Alex Reid in your side, combined with some others who he has mentioned at the time when I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. He wasn't saying we're going to go out and smash it and win it or anything like that, and that's not his style. But he said, they'll be competitive. Look, we're in round one and we're already seeing upsets. Well, when we say upsets, just teams you expect to be winning and they're not.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm just looking forward to next week and getting some more games, because we'll start to see some patterns develop. And when we do that, then we'll get, better prepared to make some predictions. At the moment, it's just flip a coin.
Yeah.
Because we don't know who's got who.
No.
The clubs know, and, and they'll know each other. But at this stage, from us and our point of view, it's going to be great to watch.
Yeah, of course. As well, Crabs Bay Crabs, 3-1 win over Bulwark. Crabs just flying, as Wilso says. Good form is good form. Like starting pre-season, you've got to just keep it going.
Yeah, well, winning's a habit, isn't it? And that's why you have your pre-seasons, and people always say, we're just trialling players. You do, but you want to get into winning patterns, and this is what they've done, and they've done that well. Look, Wayne Bailey is a coach. He's been around this game, a long, long time, and he's such a good coach. He was such a good player, so he knows how it all fits together, and he knows people, and he knows players, the way they move, the way they think, the way they act, the way they walk, and he'll put them in positions that he believes will work, and then he'll give them the confidence to go and play and give them a good pattern to play to. And when he does that, they've got a mentality that sets themselves up with confidence, system of play that'll work, and and a winning mentality.
Yeah.
Can't speak highly enough about the horse. He's just top shelf, and those guys are ones to watch. And reluctant as I am to do this, Gareth Wozniak doing his crab gestures the other night.
Pincers, yeah.
Wow, yeah, the pincers. Keep your eye on the crabs.
Yeah, and to speak when we touched on about Zuri as well, both Andrew and Chris Bailey at the Crabs now as well. So with the father-son connections, you'd think there's got to be something good brewing.
Yeah, and look, good players are going to bring good players too.
Of course, yeah.
Wherever the Baileys are going to go, they're going to attract people, because you want to be associated with quality, and that's exactly what they are.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe then looking at, we've spoken about teams that we predict to be good, maybe predicting relegation battle kind of teams. New Lambton and Merriweather advanced. New Lambton beating Advance 4-1. Not a great start for Advance, I'd say, if you've already come off not a great pre-season, and then losing round one as well. So the opposite of Crabs, if you start losing.
So talk us through it.
I would just say the opposite of, if you come in losing, yes, you're kind of at rock bottom, there's only going up, but how do you start that up?
For me, what you've got to do is, and this is just me personally and the way that I've been brought up in senior football, is you look at your defence and you get that right. So you're not leaking 5 and 6 goals. That's what you want to do. Get that sorted out and then build from your foundation. And once you get a foundation in place that's working, I remember spending whole pre-seasons where the coach spent the first month only on defence.
Yeah.
Just working on, and that's everyone from the strikers back, but really the back 4 or back 5, whatever we were using in those days, and then building. And once you've got that in place, and if I was in the Merriweather Advanced camp, that's probably what I'd start to do.
Yeah.
And maybe playing people out of positions to get your strong guys in there. And then from there, you start to build, and then you can look at, all right, what do we need here, and then go and poach the Crabs. No, it's just
yeah, that's the thing. Look, we're not here to just talk about the great teams and the winning teams. And when we do touch on teams not doing too well, we're not trying to have a go at anyone.
Absolutely not. Look, I'm a Merriweather boy through and through. I've grown up at the beach.
Yeah.
Before it was trendy to live there, it's full of robbers and druggos. So, mate, I'm a Merriweather boy through. They'll see you guys at training on Thursday night. I want you to win.
Looking at Zone 3, there was a few interesting results throughout there. We'll first touch on the two new guys, Rutherford versus Madawi. They got a 0-0 draw, so probably not the most exciting game when we're talking about other games being 6+ goals. But a good start for Rutherford coming in and really putting a stamp on why they should be here.
Yeah, and without seeing the game, I mean, when it's 0-0, you've got to be thinking there were chances that weren't taken. And so, you know, for both sides there, they kept goals out. But as a coach, you want to say, well, what am I going to do to improve our chances? So if you're getting into the top third, working on the top third, and maybe getting some, players that are going to get the ball rolled in, bounce back out and get a shot on target. Keep it really simple, but at the same time being effective in your execution. So, for those two types of clubs, that's what I'd be looking at. If you haven't scored any, you kept a clean sheet, keep that in order, but, start working on some simple processes to get some more shots on goals. The more you shoot, the more you score.
Exactly right. And speaking of that then, on the flip side, the other new guys on the block, Fletcher, unfortunately losing 6-0 to Southern Lakes. So Southern Lakes obviously know how to shoot.
And Fletcher aren't operating out of the ground at Fletcher, are they? They're
I don't believe so, yeah.
So, it'll be good to have a look at them at some point as well. And can't wait to see you guys play. I've been out to Fletcher a couple of times in previous years with junior stuff. But it's a club that's got a big future because there's a great complex, great junior base in a growing area. So in an area like that, at Fletcher, where you got a population boom, let's call it that, and facilities have popped up like that one at Fletcher, then you can only expect the future is going to be good when, in 5 or 10 years' time when these guys are hitting first grade football.
And that's it. You've got to start somewhere. So starting in Zone 3 your first year can't be too hard on yourself really, because you've got to look forward to the future, I guess.
Yeah, let's have a look at Mark Trender and Daniel McBreen and co, bringing back promotion relegation. There is something to aim for now, and this is the difference. Yeah. If you're playing for nothing, it's not worth anything. And for me, when you're on the line, sometimes those games at the bottom, when you're going to get relegated, are just as exciting, if not more so, than the ones that are at the top. So if you're winning in the top league and you're in the NPL and you just win the premiership, then is it more exciting than in zone in the Division 2, where you're getting relegated to Division 3? There's a lot to look forward to in all of that.
100%.
So these guys have got it right. They've brought it back, and they've got
exactly
it
right.
It should be.
Well, you may not have seen too much of all these teams yet, but as the season goes on, I think everyone will have a better idea of what these teams look like and how they play. This scoreline might not properly reflect the game, but maybe going through the season it could be different.
Yeah, I mean, it's the time of the year when everyone gets to look at each other and they get to look at what the results are, and then they start to work a bit harder. People that aren't turning up to training might say, okay, well, if we're going to be fair income here, we've got to turn up and start to train. Yeah. They could have that, or you could have another extreme where the players are turning up in numbers and there's lots of other players, and if you're not there, you're going to miss your first grade spot. So there's those scenarios. So I guess when you've got score lines like that, that's where your mentality needs to be. And as a coach, for me, I'd probably pick the team that's going to be there at training over the guys that are, maybe the stronger players, but can't turn up. Everyone's working. Everyone's got reasons not to be there. So you consider all of that as a coach. But if people just couldn't be bothered and don't give a jack, then maybe that's the way I'd treat it too. Yeah. But it's a good opportunity for guys to put your hand up, turn up to training and start working if they haven't been already.
Yeah, that's it. And finally, for Zone 3, just touching on Garden Suburb and Merewether United. The Merewether United beat Suburbs 3-0, which is a turnaround from a couple of weeks back when Suburbs beat United 3-2 in the Australia Cup. So highlighting on that game, the just over 2 weeks, the complete difference of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's football, and changes and results are going to happen. And sometimes you say to yourself, we've been robbed. Jacko should have put it that away, and Dick should have done that. Whatever. Yeah. Maybe that's just the case, and Jack and Jonesy did all of that, and you got a couple in. That's football, and that's what we love about the game, isn't it?
Exactly, and it's not often that this does happen where you play a team and then 2 weeks later you play the team again.
This time of the year is everyone's pumped up.
Yeah.
Let's progress 6 weeks' time. It's starting to get pretty cold.
Yeah.
Training gets harder because it's wet. You're turning up in the games. You got midweek catch-ups. These are the times where you're going to pick your points up.
You got to capitalize.
So, if you're thinking about score lines at this time of the year, yeah, you do want to get off to a good start, 100%. But your season's not gone because things are going to change through the year that are going to impact that, like the weather, like motivation, and like people not being there.
Yeah.
So, and injuries, of course, because that's another big one.
Finishing the review now of the weekend, just quick touch on our sponsors and partners for Zone League Football and the podcast. Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Solved Marketing. Solved are partnered with Newcastle Football, Zone Football League, and are also sponsoring the podcast. So any marketing inquiries or needs, we couldn't recommend Solved enough. Also, Deploy Football. They are major sponsor, supplying the balls for the season opening game. They've got great apparel, great equipment, footballs, everything that we need. Think you've touched on us already, Harry Schnitzel.
Oh yeah, we love Harry because Harry gets the snitties in your guts. And I know Gaz loves the famous.
Yeah.
And I know Damien Smith, our former Bar TV partner, he used to love the famous as well.
Yeah.
Harry's been an awesome supporter of Bar TV, and he's just pumped up to be a part of the Zone League here.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to have you on board. And we've already given a man of the match, Harry Schnitzel man of the match on Friday night to Newcastle, Croatia, Jake McGuinness. And look, all three of us agreed, in commentary that there were a number of reasons. It could have gone to quite a few players, but Jake's physical dominance up front was one thing. I love the way he was holding into pockets. The timing of his runs for me was the best. He really wasn't overcommitted at the wrong times, and he wasn't undercommitted because he wasn't fit enough. He just got it all right, and he was a really good, strong leader for the group. So all of those things combined, plus he got the ball around really, really well, as others did. But as I said, could have gone to a few, but, for me, Gino was a standout, and so get that in your guts. Harry Schnitty going your way, and we'll catch up very shortly on that one.
Yeah, and so going forward, all the match of the rounds, the player of the match will be sponsored by Harry Schnitzel. So that's definitely something. If your game is the match of the round, definitely keep that in the back of your mind, because I know I'd definitely be fueled to go get a Schnitzel.
Oh, yeah, and not only that, they're at Thornton, they're at Jesmond, they're at Newcastle, they're blah, 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 blah. Wherever Harry's got it, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go far, wherever you are in the valley.
And even if you don't win the man of the match, you probably still want to go get a Schnitzel.
Yeah, you probably would, and Gareth will come with you 100%. Gareth would be there for sure, and probably Gaz too. But it's great, the commentary team will pick it out for you. Like we'll do our best to assess, and that'll be on every commentated match.
Yeah, and then to touch on that as well, Bar TV, obviously huge partner for Zone League Football this year, doing the match of the rounds with yourself, Gareth and Gary, commentating throughout the year as well, and also facilitating this podcast as well. So we're always thankful for Bar TV, yourself, and the other boys as well.
Yeah, look, this is my 11th year on Bar TV. How did that happen? But anyway, I've loved every second of it. And there was a time a few years ago when I got a little bit crook and I wasn't going to do it anymore. But, things changed back around, and, I just have loved every second of doing this. But the other night, just without going over the top on it, there were 3 cameras on deck. There were replays. We had the best people in production. We had amazing camera crew, and commentary was pretty crap. So all those things together, and we screwed it up a few times because that's what we do here on Bar TV. But it makes it more fun, and gee, they've been good. And the quality of the visual is just something you can keep for your kids and your grandkids and your great grandkids. And say, look what Poppy used to do, or Grandma when she played when we're filming the women's and whatever. It's just their commitment is unbelievable.
It's definitely second to none, and we're definitely glad that we've got the best production people on our side.
Without a doubt.
Out of all competitions that do have production people behind the scenes, we got Bar TV, which is pretty cool.
Look, to be honest, it's pretty exciting because we've just kind of picked up and gone straight into something. Again, a big rap to Chris Brain because he's been the mover behind us doing what we're doing and working very closely with Bar TV. So what this means for you guys is you'll be able to, people that are overseas, relatives, friends on holidays, you're on holidays and you're missing games, you'll be able to watch wherever you are, whenever you are. And that's the beauty of Bar TV. And we love hearing from you too. So if you want to look us up on Messenger or whatever and send us as we're going in commentary, always up for that. Love giving shout outs, whatever. So we're up for anything.
Yeah, sweet. And so then this weekend, round 2, match of the round for Bar TV, is going to Zone League 3, Barnsley versus Fletcher. So as we said before, highlighting one of those new teams, Fletcher, and Barnsley, from what I've seen results-wise, have been doing quite well so far. So I'm sure Barnsley will be really appreciative to be able to host at their ground. Nice ground. When was the last time that you've been at Barnsley?
Oh, well, look, I played a lot of my career at West Wallsend.
Okay.
So Barnsley's pretty fond, to me, and know the pub there well, and other things. But yeah, it's a bush track. You know what I mean? But that's what you get with the territory, and I've always loved it. Loved the atmosphere that could bring in on a nice day. You can't get a better setting and great atmosphere. And it's going to be so much fun taking Bar TV out because I remember playing games out there in the middle of winter back in the days where a candle was probably going to light the ground up. We'd be happy with that, and it was just a bog pit. Different story today.
Yeah.
And, nice weather, good conditions and taking cameras. I would never have believed it.
Yeah.
Back in that day. So it's going to be great. Look, Fletcher, for me, I got both arms around that club because they've embraced, our family, with our son into the Maryland Fletcher football club, the juniors. So I've got my arms around those guys too because they've been great to us.
Yep. So yeah, if you're a Barnsley fan, Barnsley local, definitely get down there Saturday 2:30, and also Fletcher as well. We don't want it to be a one-sided fanfare.
No, not at all.
If you can make it, definitely Saturday 2:30 at Barnsley's home ground for Barnsley versus Fletcher.
Yeah, when you're throwing shit out, can you just make it cans at least, not bottles? That'd be good.
And no flares.
Oh, no, flares are illegal. Sorry, Chris.
All right, well, that's all from us today. I've been Mason Villa. CT, great to have you here. Great to talk. We'll see you next week for episode 2 after round 2 of Zone Football League. Thank you very much.
This is the Zone Football League.